Today I'd like to talk to you about a man, formerly of the white race. I kicked him out. Once he went black, he never went back. His name is Jeffrey Dahmer. It's funny that he was never really accused of racism, even though he killed a lot of blacks. A lot of blacks. But I guess he had sex with them first, so kind of takes the sting off the murder. Not really. It really doesn't. Jeffrey Dahmer, and by the way, we're not really here to talk about Jeffrey Dahmer. We're here to do a humble brag about myself. I am known as the king of analogies. Oh, sorry, the emperor. I don't want to shortchange myself there. I'm the emperor of analogies, self-declared. Why? Because I come up with really good analogies that are apt, concise, accurate to a deadly degree. During the heyday of Islamic terror, one of the main rebuttals to that terror was for people to say, look, not all Muslims kill. Or not all Muslims believe in jihad. You know, you could say, well, they did a Pew poll in England and a shocking percentage of English Muslims agree with suicide bombings or support ISIS, for example. And the number would be something crazy. Let's say it was 15%. I think it was more than that, but okay, whatever, depending on the issue. And you would hear regressives and people who are weak of character say, well, the vast majority of them don't. You know, Ben Affleck will say, most Muslims just want to make sandwiches and raise their families. They're not terrorists. We would hear this brand of attempting to wish away the problem and focus on the non-problem so many times that I wanted to highlight precisely how absurd it is to focus on the thing we're not talking about, which is, you know, the 1,000 black dentists or the 1,000 Muslim dentists. Actually, some of the Muslim dentists are a problem. The one from the Adnan Syed story, his mentor at the mosque, he was drugging people in his dental office, men, and fucking their face. So that was a bad analogy. But see, that's why I wouldn't give that analogy, because I'm the emperor. But anyway, I gave an analogy back in 2014 on a video of me reacting to The View, reacting to Ben Affleck. And in that video, and I'm going to play it for you, I am basically describing how absurd it is for people to try to diminish Islamic terror by saying, hey, not all Muslims do it. As if this completely arbitrary paradigm that you've set up, which is unless every member of a group does something, then it's not to be worried about. It's not even that big of a problem. It's not even a problem. Pit bulls kill children. They maul them, but not all of them do. In fact, most of them don't. Vast majority don't. Oh, okay. Jesus. We are just solving problems left and right here. Here's what I said in that video. I brought up Jeffrey Dahmer, and here was my point. Not to mention the line between stereotyping and what is just an understanding of the world based on an accumulation of facts. An accurate assessment of a general trend. That is not a stereotype. If I said to you, most people in Africa are black, would you accuse me of bigotry and stereotyping? Oh, wait a minute. Devon, how can you say that? There are people in South Africa. They're white. Granted, what I'm still saying is most people in Africa are black, have black, dark skin. This is not an ugly distortion of the facts. This is an accurate portrayal of a general trend. And then you come back, and these liberal scumbags come back with, and I'm a liberal. I'm not talking about all liberals. These liberals come back with, Devon, how could you say that? How could you say all the people are black? You're ignoring the albino community of Africa. There's thousands, hundreds of thousands of albinos in Africa. Okay, that does not take away from the truth of the fact that most people in Africa have dark skin. And what you have succeeded in doing is railroading the conversation. The conversation is now dead in the water. We're talking about minutia, about points that have no relevance. Do you see what I used to do? I used to put up a PNG and a still shot and just talk. Now you guys get B-roll footage, you get music, you get anime. It's unbelievable. You're spoiled, and you don't even know it. And you feel entitled to me making this a delicious morsel for you, intellectually, comedically, visually, auditorially, sensorially, spiritually. I mean, what have you done for me lately or / ever? Oh, you pay me money? Okay, fine. We're even.
So my not mentioning the albino population of Africa has no relevance to the point that most Africans have dark skin. Just like when the topic comes to Islam and their terrible ideas and their terrible behaviors based on those ideas, it is not helping the situation to say, but there are some people that don't have those ideas. There are some Muslims who are very law-abiding. They don't believe in this or that. They don't believe in jihad. They don't believe in martyrdom. They don't condone ISIS and the other radical groups. That is not the point. Now it's just a numbers game. How many millions upon millions of people who hold these ideas does it take before you recognize that it's an actual clear and present insult to our lives? That it's a terrible thing that needs to be addressed?
Sounds like The View.
Yeah.
Or at least what they always said we were like.
You know what I loved is I loved how you could see him fuming and building up, and he was just turning bright red.
Here's a little analogy for you to maybe grasp this. Let's talk about Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer, the serial killer, killed dozens of people. Okay, I'm not sure the exact amount. Now, I say Jeffrey Dahmer is a terrible person. What he did was awful. It's reprehensible. I am deeply offended by his actions, and I condemn them. Now you come back with, hey, whoa. Why are you painting him with such a broad brush? You're stereotyping Jeffrey Dahmer. Okay, he killed 17 guys. Yeah, he ate some of them. Okay, that's bad. But look, Jeffrey Dahmer lived a long life. Let's look at every day of his life. Out of all the days of Jeffrey Dahmer's life, how many days did he actually kill somebody? Very few. Very few days. Only 17 of the days of his life. That's 0.00 whatever percent of his life. So by you talking negatively about Jeffrey Dahmer, you are now painting him and all the 99.9% of his life where he didn't kill somebody, you're condemning him for those days. Just not right. It's not fair. Why aren't you highlighting the days where he didn't kill people? What about those days? And this example doesn't even do justice to Islam. This is suggesting that the only people within the Muslim world that we need to be worried about is 0.1%. And it's not even remotely like that. Like what Sam Harris was saying was that 20% of the Muslim world makes up the radical jihadists who are hell-bent on Islam taking over the world, and then the Islamists, the people who are deeply committed to this, believe in all of it just as passionately, but yet are not pulling the triggers, are not chopping off heads.
Oh, so nice listening to young Devon speak there. The timbre of my voice was so high, I don't think my balls had dropped yet. So let me just hammer home the point of why I am showcasing. I bring up a serial killer. I bring up one in particular, Jeffrey Dahmer, a very infamous one who did horrific things, who I think universally we can all just condemn. You know, I kicked him out of the white race, for God's sake. So, and by the way, he paid the toll. He was stabbed to death by a bleep. So he burned the coal, and he paid the toll in a roundabout way. I bring up Dahmer because it is such an absurdly obvious thing that this is a fucked up man. A man who is evil, a man whose evil cannot be ignored, should not be ignored, and to dismiss it or try to hide from the fact that he killed 17 people would be just like a ridiculous, literally the most ridiculous stance you could possibly take on assessing that man, his track record, and his moral behavior. So he is a multiple-time murderer, what we call a serial killer, and for you to bring up the days he didn't murder is a remarkably pathetic statement that does not hold water. It does not stand up to scrutiny. To even say it out loud is an absurdity. Okay, it reminds me of Chris Rock. Niggas be taking credit for shit they supposed to do. So, oh, you didn't kill someone today? Nigga, you're supposed to not kill someone today. The fuck? The point is you killed 17 people. That is the goddamn story. So talk about the problem and don't talk about the non-problem. And if someone brings up a problem, do not whataboutism your ass into being like, look over here, there's non-problems over there. It's easier to solve a non-problem in the other person's mind than to address a problem that they're uncomfortable with and have no power to stop or control. So are you understanding that this is a point that I made, and I think it illustrates it quite well? In 2014, a short, soccer-loving Lebanese Jew, the uncle of Ariel Helwani, a man by the name of Gad Saad, he is a professor, I believe he's in Quebec, or Montreal, whatever. He watched my videos. He liked my take on the regressive left. He used the word that I helped to popularize, the regressives, which was a play on them calling themselves progressive, which they are very much not. What they represent is not progress, it's regress. But I digest. He watched my videos, he adopted the word regressive, he then made a video a year after I had put this one out with my Dahmer reference, and he made the following point in that video.
Hi everybody, this is Gad Sad for the Sad Truth. Regressives have an uncanny ability to use shoddy, if not duplicitous, reasoning and poorly conceived stats to arrive at whichever rosy picture they'd like to arrive to. So for example, if one is having a discussion regarding whether an ideology is peaceful and whether it preaches brotherly love or the contrary of that, they usually will point to some time period where supposedly everybody under that ideology held hands and sang Imagine by John Lennon and so on. Which, of course, that supposed rosy period is not pluralistic and brotherly in the way that we would understand it in the West. But that notwithstanding, that type of logic is perfectly analogous to the following example that I'm about to offer you. And I call this the Jeffrey Dahmer regressive logic. So here it goes. So for example, if you look at Jeffrey Dahmer, the serial killer who was born in 1960, he died at the age of 34 when he was beaten by a fellow inmate. His first murder was at the age of 18, so when he was officially an adult. And so he lived, he was, by the way, convicted of the murder of 17 young men. So remember that number 17. Now, if we look at the number of days that he was alive from his birthday when he was 18, I think it was May 21st, 1960. I checked that on Wikipedia. All the way until the day that he was killed, I think it's November 28th, 1994. I'm going on memory here. He lived roughly 16 and a half years, both in and out of prisons. So basically, he was alive for 6,027 days as an adult. Now, on 17 of those days, he committed a murder. Now, I'm assuming that on none of the murders, multiple murders did not happen on the same day. So let's, for the sake of this conversation, assume, which I think is a correct assumption, that each of the murders happened on separate days. That means that on 17 of the 6,027 days, he committed a murder, which comes out to 0.28% of all days that he was alive as an adult, which means that on 99.72% of days that he was alive, he did not commit psychopathic, I think cannibalistic, serial murders. 99.72% of the days he was just a lovely guy walking around not committing murders just like the rest of us. So when you put it in, under that lens, Jeffrey Miller is actually quite a nice guy. 99.72% of the days he was completely bereft of murders.
Now, Jeffrey Miller was him just messing up. There is no Jeffrey Miller. Okay, Jeffrey Miller is not a serial killer. There probably are Jeffrey Millers out there, and I don't want to besmirch their name, their good name. Gad Saad made this video, and in the description of this video, he claimed that he came up with this independent of me. Now, someone had brought to his attention, hey, the Atheist Rue guy has said this. He said this a year ago. We know you watch his videos. You're clearly borrowing this from the Atheist Rue. And he's like, no, we independently both came up with this, but kudos to him for, great minds think alike type of a thing, which I find to be, weird. He might, the best case scenario, he's not aware that he heard me say this. In no world is this guy bringing up a man who watched my videos during the time in question, is going to, in reference to the same topic, Islamic terror, and people excusing it, trying to reframe the whole thing. So in response to that, bringing up A, serial killers, and then B, Jeffrey Dahmer. Like, do you realize the coincidental nature of that? Like, let's run the math on that. That is just crazy and stupendous.
And so you're going to judge him based on the 0.28% of days when he, did, lure men, rape them, eat them, throw them in containers of acid. I mean, come on, let's give the guy a break. So that's exactly the kind of logic that the regressives are using. They basically take an ideology and then point to specific periods where supposedly the ideology is not engaging in global mayhem, and then basically they argue, you see, it is peaceful. By the exact analogous logic, when you look at the totality of days that Jeffrey Dahmer was alive, he is one swell guy. He's the type of guy you want to get to know, befriend, and have over for dinner. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed this little regressive logic interlude. Continue having a great week. Talk to you soon. Cheers.
Now, Gad Saad lifted this from me. He then went on to have, quite a big career as a professor, as a writer, as a broadcaster, YouTuber, as a guest on Joe Rogan and many other podcasts. He has said this little thing, this little Dahmer logic thing that he thinks he has invented himself. In fact, he said it the other day. He went on Coleman Hughes, and they were talking about Islamic terror, or living in the Islamic world, and he said the following.
So what would you say to the argument that some people make, which is that you've got the Ottoman Empire for hundreds of years, and Jews and other minorities are living in, relative peace, and by relative, I mean relative to Europe, where Jews are being persecuted left or right. And for many people, this is proof that Islam is not, or over the grand sweep of history, is by default less anti-Semitic than Christendom was. So what do you make of that argument?
Right. So I'll draw this analogy, and I'm not trying to be facetious towards you, but hopefully, analogical reasoning is an important tool to understand the veracity and power of an argument. Jeffrey Dahmer and Ted Bundy, if we look at the number of days that they lived, and we calculate the percentage of days of those days that they've lived where they've killed somebody, it'll come out to about 99.9% of the days that they lived, they never killed anybody. Yet nobody would say, but come on, bruh. I mean, John Wayne Gacy, you're talking about only 27 kids he killed, or whatever it was. That's 99.97% of the time where he was totally lovely to kids. So Islam is a very bad place for religious minorities to be. That doesn't mean that for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for 1,400 years, they go about slaughtering everybody. The Ottoman Empire also had this little thing called the Armenian Genocide.
Okay, so now he's evolved the thing that he took from me, and it's now Ted Bundy and John Wayne Gacy. It serves the exact same purpose. He started with Jeffrey Dahmer again, and he said this on multiple occasions. He's been on Joe Rogan's show many times. I guarantee you he said this to Joe Rogan at some point. It's one of his favorite things to say. It's a very smart point. It's a smart point that I made because I'm a very smart person. So I'm not, look, the idea is smart. Everyone can adopt it. I say it out loud in public and I broadcast it so that you adopt it or consider it for yourself and judge its worth. Not that I respect your judgment. It's worth, just trust me, it's worth a lot. Okay, it's a smart thing to have said. I'm incredibly smart. I'm taller than Gad Saad. I have a bigger dick than Gad. I have a bigger dick than Gad Saad. I don't think you understood what I said right there. My dick is bigger than Gad Saad. Okay, not his dick. That's obvious. Literally, it eclipses him. So I'm not sitting here doing a dick measuring contest. Okay, what I said is amazing. I'm fucking amazing. Okay, we're not debating that. Okay, you can suck my. Okay, but all of this is prelude to something that eclipses all of this. So my ingenious point about Jeffrey Dahmer, I'm the emperor of analogies. The size of my dick, Gad Saad blatantly plagiarizing me. Oh, by the way, Coleman Hughes, the guy he's talking to, he likes and admires my shit and is using my racism of the gaps, which is yet again, oh god, this is awkward, a genius thing that I came up with.
There's this massive orthodoxy on the left, which I have been criticizing, where you measure black people and white people by some mean statistic, you find a difference, and you immediately attribute that gap to racism, discrimination, whether it's overt or systemic. So I saw someone on Twitter recently call this the racism of the gaps argument, which is it's a play on the God of the gaps argument that many religious people poorly employ in arguments about whether God exists.
Yeah.
I'm going to start using that. I think it's very clever.
Well, young Coleman, please do use it. Go buck wild with it. Be my guest.
Are Asians, they have higher per capita incomes, they live longer, better health results. That's kind of odd for a white supremacist society, isn't it?
Yeah, it's weird. It's a big mystery that white supremacists, so-called white supremacists, are actually Asian supremacists. It's not really something that they can get their head around. You talked about the disparity in numbers and how they're so quick to label that or blame that on racism. I call that the racism of the gaps. Because they just need a gap, they fill it with racism, and problem solved.
Right, so all of that, forget all of that, okay? This is not about me. This is about the raw, unbridled stupidity of Joe Rogan. So let me present my genius-level take on what is happening here. I'm about to play you a clip of Joe Rogan commenting on Jeffrey Dahmer. It is one of the stupidest things I've ever heard in my life. It came out of his mouth. It is so stupid that it's haltingly stupid. As in, you have to pause your life, definitely pause the video, no new input can come. You have to go into a sensory deprivation tank, okay, to contemplate just how retarded Joe Rogan is. Now, a normal person will hear what he's about to say about Dahmer and think, oh, surely he's kidding. Now, that will wear off after a few seconds when you realize, oh no, that's not a joke. First of all, he's an unfunny comedian, so he doesn't even know how to tell a joke and is not funny, like in any way. But there's no indication in the context, in the follow-up, there's nothing indicating that what he is saying is a joke. Now, a lot of the times, jokes and sarcasm, the nature of it is somebody says something which they don't believe. So they're saying something that isn't true, pretending that they're saying it as if it is true. That is what comedy is in great measure. Joe's not doing that. Okay, what I think has happened is that Gad Saad went onto the Joe Rogan podcast, plagiarized my Jeffrey Dahmer comment again, which he has done in lectures and speeches, and it's probably in his book, whatever. Joe Rogan heard him say this, heard him talk about Dahmer in this way, and then Joe Rogan said this about Dahmer. I'm about to play you the clip. I don't know how to prepare you for this more. Here it is.
And are they sociopaths? Because there's a lot of people that are genuine sociopaths. They do not care if other people are hurt. They do not care about people's feelings. They only care about themselves. There are people like that out there in the world, and they're amongst us. And I don't know what the number is.
Right.
I think it's like 1% or something like that. Is it something like that, or is that schizophrenics? I think sociopath is probably even higher than that. Like,
yes, there are many sociopaths in the world. A sociopath, the way he's describing it, is just someone who doesn't care about hurting other people. I would venture to say most people are on some level, they're on the spectrum of sociopathy. Now, I don't know how clinical you want to get with that term. That term is basically used as you're a crazy person or you're a killer, a sociopath. So I don't think anyone's actually using the term the way it's defined. But if you want to talk about just wild narcissism and a lack of real empathy, that's probably most people. Okay, so the idea of they live among us, yeah, of course. So the conversation is about just general sociopaths and people that don't care about hurting other people, okay?
and some of it has got to be because how you were treated when you were young. Some of it has got to be nurture.
Yeah.
But I wonder how much of it's nature. I wonder how much of it's your wires are crossed wrong.
Just asking questions, man. Where did that coronavirus come from? Do vaccines even work? Did we land on the moon? I don't know. So a very dull insight from Rogan saying sociopaths might have been screwed up in their nurturing, but also maybe it's nature. Maybe a little bit of both. Probably. Fascinating.
And you just don't give a fuck about other people. It's totally possible. I mean, you look at like Jeffrey Dahmer. His parents seemed to be normal. They didn't seem to abuse him. He didn't have like some horrific childhood where he was, tortured. It's like, what makes a person like that? I don't fucking know, man. But When you see it, it's so confusing. Like that Sackler guy in your show, it's like when you're watching him say what he says, like, how does a person like this exist?
Right.
Okay, so now he cuts over to his guest, who is about to comment on the fact that discussing general sociopaths and sociopathic behavior among a large number of people in our society on a spectrum, that is one thing. You bringing up Jeffrey Dahmer is a rather extreme example of a sociopath. Okay, that's the point that this other guy's about to make. Now, in response to that point, Rogan says one of the stupidest things I've ever heard in my life. There's no other way to frame that.
Right, and like obviously Dahmer is a fairly extreme example of.
But is it? Because he only killed like 6 or 7 people.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to pause there. I'm not going to comment yet. I'm going because I don't think you believe what you just heard. I don't think it makes sense in your brain, and you're missing something. You're gaslighting yourself right now. Okay, trust your instinct. We're going to play that back, and I'm going to let it run. And then I'm going to comment on it.
When you see it, it's so confusing. Like that Sackler guy in your show, it's like when you're watching him say what he says, like, how does a person like this exist?
Right, and like obviously Dahmer is a fairly extreme example of.
But is it? Because he only killed like 6 or 7 people.
Right, I just mean but he really like put his hands on those people, right? So that the idea of a serial.
Okay, Joe Rogan, where is your brain? What the fuck is happening right now? Okay, when you're talking about sociopaths, you brought up a serial killer. That's an extreme example of a sociopath. You bring up the serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer, to which Joe Rogan says with a straight face, not joking, not taken as a joke, there is no laughter, there is no indication it's a joke, but is it really an extreme example? Because he only killed 6 or 7 people. Now, dismiss the fact that he killed 17 people. That's okay, that's just him being ignorant or whatever. Let's assume he killed 6 or 7 people. It's not an extreme example of what? Is this a comparison to like the worst serial killers? We're not comparing him to the biggest mass murderers of all time, in which case he might have had a point. He just compared him to just a regular person, so non-serial killers, sociopaths, and then he brought up the point that Jeffrey Dahmer is not an extreme example of anything. Joe, he murdered 17 people, ate some of them. I mean, so I think that he heard Gad Saad diminish Jeffrey Dahmer when the entire point of the analogy is that it would be crazy to minimize Jeffrey Dahmer and what he did. Joe whiffed on that part of the statement from Gad Saad, which is plagiarized from me, and instead just goes, yeah, I don't think Jeffrey Dahmer's that bad. He's not extreme. It's not an extreme example of anything. Is he, though? Is Jeffrey Dahmer an extreme example? Because he only killed like 6 or 7 people.
Like, obviously, Dahmer is a fairly extreme example of.
But is it? Because he only killed like 6 or 7 people.
Right. I just mean but he really like put his hands on those people, right? So that the idea of a serial killer is such an extreme, real but extreme version of that.
Okay, it was 17 people, but had he killed 6 or 7 people, Joe, I'd venture to say that's pretty bad. I'd venture to say that's extreme. I would call him a mass murderer. I'd call him a serial killer. So in what fucking universe does it make any sense to diminish the killing spree of a psychopathic serial killer? I mean, what damage have you done to your brain with whatever shit you are smoking, toking, shooting, popping pill? Like, what the fuck have you done to your brain? Yeah, Joe, great point. Jeffrey Dahmer isn't that extreme. Didn't he only, he said only, didn't he only kill 6 or 7 people? No, he only killed 17, Joe, that we're aware of. Oh my God. And like, imagine this guy comes back. No, that's a good point. I'd never considered that. You're right. He is a mild example of sociopathic behavior. He only killed 7 people. That's a fair point, Joe. Thank you for raising that. And there is no pushback, and he doesn't get called out for the bizarrely retarded statement he just made. And instead the guy goes on, well, he killed them up close and personal with his hands. So yeah, those 6 or 7 are kind of worse because they were brutal in nature, right?
what makes a person like that? I don't fucking know, man. But when you see it, it's so confusing. Like that Sackler guy in your show, it's like when you're watching him say what he says, like, how does a person like this exist?
Right. And, like obviously Dahmer is a fairly extreme example of...
But is it? Because he only killed like 6 or 7 people.
Right. I just mean but he really like put his hands on those people, right? So that the idea of a serial killer is such an extreme, real but extreme
I mean, that's got to be a t-shirt. He only killed 6 or 7 people. I mean, I'm looking for a way out of this. Like, I'm looking for some sort of pathway to give him the benefit of the doubt. So one would be a joke. So ironically, if he were funny, that would have been a funny thing to say. To be like, well, you think Dahmer's an extreme example? He only killed 17 people. I mean, he was no choir boy, but like, it's only 7 people. If he had said it with any sort of whimsy or wink in his eye, like there was none of that. It was literally, he only killed 6 or 7 people.
Right. And, like obviously Dahmer is a fairly extreme example of...
But is it? Because he only killed like 6 or 7 people.
Right. I just mean...
So Joe Rogan doesn't think it's extreme for a man to be a serial killer who killed 6 or 7 people. That's not extreme behavior. Do you realize if you kill 7 people, that puts you in a category of human beings that you're in a very rarefied air there. You're in the top, 0.00001% of human beings who have murdered people. So I'm going to go ahead and say it's safe to call that extreme. I'm going to go ahead and say the fact that you said only killed 6 or 7 is repugnantly stupid. This is the same person that the innocence fraud movement has been weaponizing. They've weaponized Joe Rogan's stupidity and his retarded form of empathy, where he thinks he's helping the world by getting murderers out of prison. Like the guy you brought on your show that you vouched for as being a great guy and scrubbed his reputation and were like sending people to give him money, who then went on to murder someone and dismember the dude's body and decapitate him. Like that guy. I would call that extreme, Joe. But, he only killed 1 guy. So it's not that big of a deal. What have we learned? We've learned that the terrifying, nightmarish murder spree that Jeffrey Dahmer went on for the 70s and 80s and up into the 90s was an unthinkable reign of terror, and it was extreme, and it is worthy of our condemnation. But it is dwarfed, literally dwarfed, by the weapons-grade stupidity of Joe Rogan, the fact that he could say that statement in public and not feel mortified about it, the fact that that is the person who is questioning us landing on the moon, and he is the one ascertaining the guilt and innocence of people who are obviously guilty, who are being brought to him by charlatans and grifters, and total and complete fucking scumbags. This man, his brain is gravy. He is a repugnantly stupid human being. I want you to be aware of it. I want you to watch for it. I have no idea how someone could characterize the serial killings of Jeffrey Dahmer the way Joe Rogan just did. There's no coming back from this, and very much like what Jeffrey Dahmer said, he said, when I die, study my brain, or when you kill me, because I know there's something wrong with me, and I don't want other people, I want to help the world, a world where I've harmed people. So ironically, Dahmer actually knew that he was fucked up and was very kind of based about the whole thing. We need to study Rogan's brain. The problem is we can't wait until he dies because he's doing damage now. So Rogan is a menace to society. He's one of the stupidest people on the planet, and I want you to be aware of it. Dahmer's dead and gone. He's not going to hurt anybody. Rogan will be and is all the time. That's it for now. I hope you have a glorious day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
It's My Life and Don't You Forget. Bro, this right here is definitely a hit song for me. Like, yo, I couldn't even pause it. I didn't even know where to pause it. What, bro, this song right here is definitely going on my playlist. I love it when it get to that hook part. I'm like, it's my life. Don't you forget. Like, I love the way he be kind of yelling it, bro. But he sound good while yelling that chorus, bro. Come on. Yo. It's my life. Don't you forget. Caught in the crowd. It never ends. It's my love. Don't you forget. Caught in the crowd. It never ends.
Is it? Because he only killed like 6 or 7 people.